Good morning, friends and enemies. It is a big day to want to drop some fab dollars on the Cleveland Browns. Never thought I'd say that, but thus, this is fantasy football. We are heading into week 2, and this is the Waiver Wire show, which will be going live every single Tuesday. So if you want to hear me yap about the Waiver Wire, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Here's how we break down these videos. We jump into the trending tab, all right? And I kind of slowly talk through all the players that have been widely picked up and adopted throughout most leagues. And then we look at the trending down tab of the players, and we'll talk about guys that I think you should continue to hold on to, guys that you should drop in order to make room for the top pickups. As the video progresses, I will be giving you some fab suggestions, some light fab here, some light fab there, telling you around how much I would drop on these specific players that I talk about. And it depends on your league. It depends on your situation. It depends on how many fab dollars you have, all those types of things. As always, every single season, we do have a full waiver wire rankings tool up on our website on bdge.co. If you are a Big Dog member, you get access to the waiver wire rankings, which have more concise write-ups on all these players. It has the full rankings list of them in order of which guys I would prioritize, the fab suggestion for them, and in that membership, of course, you get my normal weekly rankings, which go live every Wednesday. You get access to a private Q&A where you could ask my sit starts on Sunday morning going forward, all that good stuff, right? So bdge.co, you could sign up to be a Big Dog member. Let's get into the waiver wire. We'll start at the running back position, and we'll just work our way down the list here. And I'm obviously going to exclude anyone that's like, I don't have to talk about Javonte Williams, owned in 81% of leagues. Like, literally, what is this sleeper? Ashton Jeanty and Jahmyr Gibbs are on this list. Cool. You should pick up Jahmyr Gibbs if he's available. Kenneth Gainwell, Pittsburgh running back, led the team in snap share in week 1 over Jaylen Warren, but produced in typical Kenneth Gainwell fashion. Overall, I'm not going to waste our time here. Gainwell's a dude that's going to continue to play and maybe get a few targets per week, but we know the Kenneth Gainwell experience. He's a dude who's been in the league now for 5 years and has never had a season over, I think, 350 rushing yards and like 250 receiving yards, or maybe flip that vice versa. Regardless, he's never going to be a guy that you want to throw into your fantasy lineup, and I think Caleb Johnson is going to continue to see increased opportunity and eventually get a role in this offense. But yeah, we're not spending any serious dollars on Kenneth Gainwell, but we do have to talk about Dylan Sampson, who came away as a huge winner from week 1, really overtook Jerome Ford for the starting role there. Over the second half of the game, he was completely the back in that backfield, right? Ended up with 8 targets, ended up with a 43% snap share, but that was only because they were kind of forcing the ball to Jerome Ford early on. But he became Joe Flacco's check down guy. And this was something that I was excited about going into the year, was that Flacco is a dude that just continuously targets his running backs over and over and over again. He passed the ball 45 times in this game, Joe Flacco. They're going to be one of the most pass-heavy offenses in the NFL. They probably want to run the ball, but their team is not set up for running back success. Maybe that changes a little bit when Judkins is back, but as it relates to Flacco, like every offense that he's in over the last 3-4 years has been extremely pass-heavy. 45 pass attempts, and I'm going to be honest, like, there probably should have been more. He probably should have been north of 50, given 2 drives just came to a halt because the receivers had balls bounce off their hands and were picked off by Cincinnati. So I think you can look at these numbers, and most of them are going to be inflated for the Browns in week 1 in terms of raw totals, like 8 catches, 8 targets. Not sustainable, but I do think Dylan Sampson now has carved out a role where he's probably the guy that sees 55 to 60% of the snaps. I don't think Jerome Ford kind of vanishes to nothing, but when Judkins is back, he likely will. So Sampson, I mean, for sure, the RB1 on the week in terms of waiver wire. If you follow my videos, he was probably someone that you ended up drafting in your league, so I feel good about that. But if not, if he's sitting there on the waiver wire, I mean, here's the thing. Judkins, we don't know what his return timetable is. He's signed with the team. He'll likely have a disciplinary hearing this week by the NFL. I don't know what that looks like. Do they just allow him to go back and play right away? Do they give him a 2-week suspension? Do they give him a 6-week suspension? I don't really know, right? Like, anytime people start to speculate about this in the fantasy industry, they're usually wrong. So we're just going to have to sit and wait on that. With Judkins, though, he's missed so much time, man. He's not been out there. He's not been running with the team. He's not been training, and he's not up to speed. He's probably not conditioned well. So, like, best case scenario, he's playing in week 2. I still think Sampson is going to have a large role in this backfield. I still think Cleveland really, really likes this kid, and he's going to be at minimum the 3rd down back here, splitting carries. And again, if you're in on clear passing situations in a Joe Flacco offense, you're probably going to see 4 to 5 targets a game. So I think Sampson, even when Judkins is back, which we don't know when that's going to be, is a relatively nice floor player. He's kind of like an arbitrage Travion Henderson, right? Like, he's very explosive. He's a good pass catcher. I don't know when we're going to see him take like the lion's share of carries, even though he did out carry Jerome Ford 12-6 in this one. So he got way more work. I mean, this is like the quietest 20 touch game you might have ever heard from a rookie, right? Like you go into the year and you're like, of course, Ashton Genty's going to have 20 touches in week 1. Of course, Amari Hampton's going to have 20 touches in week 1. Dylan Sampson, nobody was saying that shit. All right. My highest owned player in BBM drafts. Shout out to Sampson out here. So Dylan Sampson's a dude, like legitimately, if he's sitting on your waiver wire, yeah, I mean, we're not going to unload the clip because when Judkins is back, they want to use him as the primary runner. But Sampson, for as long as Judkins is out, I think he's like a really, really startable RB2 flex play in full PPR league. So he's someone that I would dump 20 to 30% of my fab on him right now and feel pretty damn good about it. Moving down the list, JCM is not available in any serious leagues. We can talk about the Tank Bigsby trade. So we had Tank Bigsby shipped off to the Philadelphia Eagles. Tank becomes an immediate drop for me. I'm not holding on to him there. Will Shipley's injury apparently is not that serious, and that's not the reason they traded for him. I don't know if that's true, but it's clear that Jacksonville is condensing their backfield. So it's Travis Etienne who took the starter role, obviously, in week 1, kind of exploded. I think bhayshul Tuten will get some base work. I think he will be Travis Etienne's like direct backup. And then you have Quentin Allen, who is now like the third down guy and has a pass catching role here. So it's murky behind Etienne, but bhayshul Tuten absolutely needs to be owned. And I would go as far as saying he is my RB2 on the week in terms of being a waiver wire pickup. Like behind Sampson, bhayshul Tuten's the next guy up. If something were to happen to Etienne, bhayshul Tuten could be a dude that just goes absolutely crazy this year, you know? And there are a lot of leagues, like my league, as you could see, these guys are not available because most of them were drafted already, but they might be available in your leagues. bhayshul Tuten's a guy that I would, you know, you're not overspending on any backup running back, of course, but he immediately vaults into the high-end handcuff territory. Trey Benson, kind of the same territory. Kyle Monangai did not get involved really whatsoever in last night's game. Shout out to JJ McCarthy out there. I think he should be owned. I'm not sure what the backfield looks like when Johnston is back. He was inactive for the game last night. DeAndre Swift, 17 carries. There wasn't another running back who got a carry last night. So it kind of tells you where the coaching staff is at with all that hype about they trust Kyle Monangai. Like, he didn't really play much last night. So he's definitely rosterable, but I'm not overspending on anything there. DJ Giddens is another direct backup, high-end handcuff. Like, he's going to get all the work if Jonathan Taylor were to go down. So that's really it for the running backs on the waiver wire this week, man. It really is Dylan Sampson, and then it's like high-end handcuffs. You got Tuten, you got Trey Benson, you got DJ Giddens, you got those guys. Like Kenneth Gainwell, I get it. Like, if you want to roster him, cool. He'll probably get 8 to 10 touches a week, but he's not a really explosive player. He's not ever going to get goal line touches there. He's not. I'm out on Kenneth Gainwell if you can't tell by my tone. The first game of the season, Thursday Night Football, set us up with a bunch of wide receiver waiver wire guys, right? You've got the Chargers and you've got the Chiefs here. So we'll start with the Chargers, right? We have Herbert throwing the ball 34 times to 16 rush attempts, 16 running back run attempts, I should say. So I think one of the biggest takeaway here is that they're like unleashing Herbert. They are allowing him to throw the ball a lot. I don't know how sticky this is over the course of a season, but it's a pretty good start for week 1. Maybe some of that goes to the fact that the Chiefs' run defense is probably a lot better than their pass defense at this point. 34 pass attempts to 16 running back carries. Herbert had 7 carries. None of them were designed runs, which tells you that it could have been 41 dropbacks to 16 running back carries. There are going to be games where they let that man loose. And this is a very condensed target tree here. Quentin Johnston saw, I believe, 7 targets. I think Ladd McConkey was up at 9 and Keenan Allen had 10. No one else on the team had more than 2. So all of the targets are going to these 3 wide receivers. Quentin Johnston, I think he's a much better player than he was when he came into the league, but we kind of know what he's good at, right? He's really athletic. He's really explosive. He's a big play guy. Keenan Allen, again, a year removed from being Herbert's top target, having a damn near career season there in the LA Chargers uniform. I don't think he's that far off from what he was a couple of years ago in terms of like his chemistry with Herbert. It's clearly there. If I'm ranking these 2 wide receivers, I'm taking Allen over Quentin Johnston because I think there are going to be a ton of days where Johnston obviously disappoints you. He gives you that boom week, that spike week. But honestly, Keenan Allen, if he's going to go 6 for 70 and have a touchdown every other week, like those are pretty damn good numbers in PPR as well. Johnston's going to have flop weeks. I do think the fact that this team is going more pass heavy from like a neutral game script rate does raise the volume of Johnston, right? It does out the gate probably raise the likelihood of him busting on a week-to-week basis, because if he would normally get, 2 to 3 targets in a bad week, and this team is now throwing the ball 35 plus times per game, that could mean that Johnston now has a volume floor of like 4 to 6 targets, 2 of which are probably going to be downfield shots. So I like the raise of the floor for Johnston. Again, I am taking Keenan Allen over Quentin Johnston in a full PPR league because I think this is going to be a guy that you're going to be able to depend on to get volume week in and week out in PPR leagues. Moving over to the Chiefs. All right. So we've got Xavier Worthy that was hit on the mesh route, and Travis Kelce just deleted him from the game immediately. He's got a dislocated shoulder. Now, there was like reports that came out that Andy Reid was like saying that he was day-to-day Xavier Worthy. I think what he was actually saying was they're like looking at it on a day-by-day basis. They haven't made a choice on what they're doing with Worthy, right? He can have surgery that ends the season. They can try to have him play through it, which probably means he's back in like 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, something in that range, I think. But I don't think the day-to-day designation was taken in correct context there. So I'm very much expecting Xavier Worthy to miss way more time, which opens things up for the Kansas City wide receivers, obviously. I mean, Hollywood Brown was a dude who stepped into that like design target role, 16 targets in this one, became an every down snap player, 10 catches, 99 yards. Realistically, he was pretty bad. He was just like a volume vacuum until the end of the game where he brought in that like 45-yard pass downfield. I don't know if you can really run your offense through Hollywood Brown. He's obviously going to be a nice target guy for like the next, whatever, month of the season. I'm likely going to let someone else overspend for Hollywood Brown this week, because the problem with Hollywood Brown is like if you overspend for him right now, like you're going to give up a significant part of your fab budget. And then the moment that Xavier Worthy or Rashee Rice, one of them steps back on the field, Hollywood Brown pretty much like evaporates into a non-existent player in your fantasy lineup. So I don't know that I want to be spending a ton of fab dollars on a dude that like I don't think has like season long upside. You know what I mean? Like if I'm dropping 20, 30, 40%, 50, 60%, it's because I'm like, okay, this is a guy that I could see having top 5, top 10 upside at their position over the course of the year. And maybe you whiff on that and that's a 0, but Hollywood Brown, like you already know the minute that Rashee Rice steps back on the field, if Xavier Worthy's out for 2 weeks instead, and then Rashee Rice is back 2 weeks after that, Hollywood Brown becomes a pretty much nothing burger in your lineup. So I get it. If you need immediate production and you're panicking on your team and you want to spend up for Hollywood Brown, I'm not going to be the guy that spends more than like, I'll probably drop a bid in my leagues for like 10 to 12%. Probably not going to win you that guy. I could see guys going 15, 20, 25% just because of the raw target totals that he accumulated in week 1. But Hollywood Brown, he's not the guy I'm really trying to spend up for this week just because the build of him, the makeup. I could also see Juju Smith-Schuster like end up getting a bunch of design targets too. Like they were on the fly. Xavier Worthy goes out. He was probably designed to get most of those targets, and Hollywood Brown just knows the position really well, and they just like threw him there. I could see Juju Smith-Schuster getting 8 targets next week, Hollywood Brown getting 8 targets next week. They play against Philadelphia. Hollywood could see a lot of Quinyon Mitchell, and this could be a game where like they take shots at the Eagles cornerback too, who is like dreadful right now. That could be Tyquan Thornton shots downfield. Talk about Tyquan Thornton, led the NFL with an average depth of target of 27.3 yards. Not going to be a high volume guy, but clearly has the trust of Mahomes. Maybe that's a guy I place like a bet on this week of like longest reception or the over on his receiving yards, something like that. But you can't seriously put Tyquan Thornton in your lineup. Moving down, there are some real like interesting waiver wire additions this week. Kayshon Boutte is one of them. He's like kind of one of my favorite guys on the waiver wire this week. 8 targets, 6 catches, 103 yards last week. You know, 100-yard performance from him. 82% of the snaps, which actually outsnapped Stephon Diggs. He was the highest route runner for the New England Patriots. And over the last 4 games that Boutte has played fully healthy, he's been damn good, averaging over 85 receiving yards per game. He's scored in 2 of those 4 games. The chemistry between him and Drake May seems legit, and he's running a ton of routes. I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. He showed them a lot of juice at the end of last year and is picking right back up where they started in year 2 with Drake May. This is a completely ambiguous receiving group. We talk a lot about ambiguous backfields with running backs. It's never really brought up in receiver groups because we usually attribute that to like, okay, this is a great quarterback with an ambiguous room. And we do that for the Packers where it's like, oh, we just kind of want to take shots on these guys. If we think Drake May is going to be really good in year 2 and take a big step up, like this is a very ambiguous receiver room where we know what Pop Douglas is. He's going to be a nice like 5 for 50 outlet guy. Hunter Henry's going to be a nice high volume floor guy as well. We don't have an upside guy here. And if it's not Diggs, he ran 70% of the routes. If he's not fully healthy, or if they just see him as a secondary guy in this offense, which contract doesn't suggest that, but the numbers in week 1 kind of do, Boutte could be a pretty high upside guy in good matchups, and they have the best matchup against Miami in Miami, good weather, week 2. That secondary is atrocious. Here's the thing with Boutte, like If you don't get him this week, there's probably going to be a really good performance at him against Miami in week 2, and then you're never going to be able to get him. So Boutte is a guy that I would be happy sinking some fab dollars in, thinking that over the course of the season, he might be a dude that you can start at your flex pretty frequently. Yeah, Boutte saw 8 targets, and I think the crazy part about it is his average depth of target was, I believe, 19 yards down the field. Like, he's a big playmaker down there. And I know a lot of you guys have probably seen the clips already of him talking about like why people kind of like disrespect him. But he was saying like at one point, he was like the big time recruit at LSU, and he was projected to be a first round wide receiver. There's some off the field things and whatever, and the combine didn't go great for him. So he fell really dramatically in the draft process, but he was a dude that at one time was looked at as a very high end talent. So Boutte is absolutely a target of mine. Again, if you want to see my exact rankings and the exact fab suggestion I have for all of these guys, go sign up to be a Big Dog member at bdge.co, waiver wire rankings, weekly sit start rankings, weekly private stream for the Q&A, all that good stuff. The next guy up on this list, Cedric Tillman. He was a dude that we were definitely targeting throughout the summer. I mean, 8 targets in this one, 5 catches, 52 yards, and a touchdown. Just continues to put up fantasy points, man. When that man is healthy, he is like very, very, very good. Over the last 4 games where him and Jerry Jeudy were playing fully healthy together, Cedric Tillman has scored 18 PPR fantasy points per game. Jerry Jeudy down at 13.5. He has out-targeted him and had more catches per game in that span as well. And again, going back to just the Browns' makeup as a team, second highest neutral pass game rate in week 1. That's something that's probably going to continue, man, because it's not like they were down 2 scores, 3 scores to the Cincinnati Bengals. They were playing their normal game. They just couldn't get the ground game going. And it just doesn't seem like they're going to be very successful in doing that. And Joe Flacco just ends up being a dude who throws the ball 40 plus times per game. And Tillman's done nothing but produce week in and week out. So would it shock anyone if Tillman outproduced Jerry Jeudy by the end of the season? I mean, raw target numbers, I probably expect Jeudy to get there, but Tillman's been a legit red zone threat. He is a touchdown scorer. He's a possession guy. Like, he's got strong hands. He's 6'3", 215. Like, Flacco fucking clearly likes him. And every quarterback that steps foot on the field for the Browns likes Cedric Tillman as well. So Tillman's a guy that absolutely you need to spend some fab dollars on. I would prioritize Tillman over Kayshon Boutte, but I like both of them somewhere in that like 10 to 15, 18% fab range for sure. And would have no problem if you went higher on that for Tillman, because I genuinely think in good matchups, he's going to be like a solid wide receiver 3 this year. The next guy up on this list, and probably the only other guy that I am eyeing to throw a few fab dollars on, is rookie Elic Ayomanor out there in Tennessee. Now, probably the worst matchup you could have for a rookie playing in Denver for Cam Ward. He only threw for like 115, 120 passing yards. But the underlying usage for Ayomanor was fantastic. It was Ridley with 8 targets, Ayomanor with 7 targets. He only caught 2 passes for 13 yards, which is why I think this is going to be like such a good, sneaky, under the value radar pickup. He ran 82% of the routes, only behind Ridley, a 28% target share. And similar to Boutte, he's like a big downfield playmaker. His average depth of target was 19 yards down the field. Like, he's a very good pairing with Cam Ward's arm, man. He's just going to be the wide receiver 2. He's going to run the second most routes, and Cam Ward's going to have games where he slings the ball, and Ayomanor is going to get his shots. And if he's seeing a 25% target share right now against Denver, week 1 as a rookie, like, I think really good things to come. Moving over to the tight end position, this is kind of spicy, man. Again, another Brown, I think, tops the list here, and that is Harold Fannin Jr., the rookie that they took very early in the 3rd round, despite already having David Njoku here. And the hype around Fannin all offseason was very clear, was very loud, and that just continued into week 1. They rested him with the starters at the end of the preseason. Fannin came out and just balled, man. 72% of the snaps, 9 targets, 7 catches, 63 yards. In terms of the routes run, Njoku still ran 85% to Fannin 65%. But in terms of like opportunity, who Joe Flacco was targeting, I mean, it was Fannin. 29% target per route run rate, 22% target rate. Both those numbers were just 12% for Njoku. He saw 25% of the air yards. And like they moved him around. He was in the slot. He was out wide. He was the inline tight end. He was in the backfield, the quarterback. Like, they were using him in a crazy capacity. And obviously, like, the lore of Harold Fannin Jr. is almost mainstream at this point. He led the entire NCAA in receiving last year. Not just tight ends, all players, wide receivers, tight ends. Harold Fannin Jr., Bowling Green. Cleveland loved him. Very, very easy prospect to fall in love with. Awesome receiving guy. And they are using him as such. And I think he fits the personnel too. You know, yesterday when I was on the stream, my first thought was like, this feels a little bit like Isaiah Likely and Mark Andrews, where you have this promising younger tight end who had this big week 1. And we're like, you know, how sustainable is this? My thing is like their personnel fits exactly with what they want to do here. Fannin Jr. playing basically the wide receiver 3 or the slot wide receiver because you have Judy, you have Tillman, you have Njoku. So they play 12 personnel because they don't really have a slot wide receiver. It's Fannin doing that, creating crazy mismatches against safeties, against linebackers. And the difference between, I think, Browns and Baltimore, I mean, there are a lot of differences. We could be here for a while on that one, is again, the passing rate. Like Baltimore obviously wants to be an extremely run heavy team with Lamar and Derrick Henry. The Browns don't have that option. The Browns are going to be a team that throws the ball 40 plus times per game, where again, a lot of these raw target numbers might be inflated a bit, but I still think they're not going to be that far off when they're in normal game scripts like they were against Cincinnati. It's going to be a tough matchup against Baltimore in week 2 out the gate. I think he has real upside over the course of the season. I think he could legit be a top 10 tight end in fantasy for the remainder of the year. Do they look to trade Njoku? I don't know. I don't know that they feel comfortable enough with the personnel they have. Like if they get rid of Njoku, it's like, do they just go to a more blocking heavy tight end and keep Fannin Jr. in a receiving role like that? I mean, he would automatically boost into like a top 5 fantasy tight end at that point. But do they feel good about using one tight end sets and then having like Isaiah Bond as their slot wide receiver? I think they probably like the depth they have there at tight end. So I don't really see David Njoku getting moved, but it would be a fucking movie if he did get moved. Fannin Jr. would skyrocket up. But I do think Fannin Jr. is almost like you're looking at him as a big slot wide receiver at this point in your tight end position, which kind of sexy. Couple other guys to talk about. Johnston. I mean, he ran basically 100% of the routes out there in New Orleans. This was a game where Spencer Rattler also threw the ball like 45 times, which I don't expect all the time, but Johnston running every route. No Taysom Hill. This is a team that's going to trail a lot, going to need to throw the ball a lot. The clear starter out there in tight end, so I could see him just catching a ton of passes. This offense went a little bit away from like the dump off heavy stuff to Alvin Kamara under Kellen Moore, which I guess is not overly surprising. But Johnston is kind of like a safety valve for Spencer Rattler now. So I think you could definitely do worse than Johnston in PPR leagues. He's going to be out there for basically every single route. Brenton Strange, I'm kind of looking him at the same as, Zach Ertz and the same as Hunter Henry. Like they're nice floor plays. Like they're going to get targets from their quarterback. Zach Ertz is probably a better bet to score a touchdown because the Washington offense is a lot better. Hunter Henry's more of a PPR guy. Same thing with Brenton Strange. They'll all have their weeks where like 1 week they go 4 for 40. The next week they go, 4 for 70 and score a touchdown. And then you're kind of just like ebbing and flowing between that guy and this guy. And I'm just probably going to stream those guys based on the matchup. For Michael Mayer, we're waiting, on Brock Bowers news. If Brock Bowers is out, Michael Mayer is going to be, like a top 10 streaming option at the tight end position, but he has very little value if Brock Bowers were to play. And right now, from what I've heard, I don't think we have any concrete update on it, but I don't think the Bowers injury is totally something it's going to linger into multiple weeks. And I think there's a possibility that he ends up playing in week 2. So Mayer could be very irrelevant. Some deeper league tight end stashes, I would say Mason Taylor of the Jets. I think, the Jets offense obviously looked better than expected. I think Mason Taylor is a very exciting young rookie prospect that has really strong hands. And I can see Justin Fields developing a real rapport with Mason Taylor. And then Chig Okonkwo out there in Tennessee, like the same case I just made for ayomanor, where he's running basically every route and the matchups are only going to get better. Like you can't find a worse matchup than in Denver in week 1 as a rookie. So Chig's going to have days where he catches a bunch of balls because he's out there running routes on every single snap, basically. All right, let's move over to the trending down tier, and I'll quickly just list off whether or not I would drop these guys or keep them. Tank, droppable. Marvin Mims, can't believe people were drafting him, very droppable. Chris Rodriguez was the odd man out there in that backfield, droppable. Ollie Gordon, I'd probably hold on to. I mean, he's just in that handcuff tier. And I would probably put him at the bottom of the tier just because Miami's offense looked terrible. Achane was clearly healthy and past the calf injury, and Ollie Gordon didn't play much, so he is droppable. Dameon Pierce, yeah, probably droppable. Nick Chubb's getting all the work. Luther Burden's a guy that I would definitely hold on to for a little bit longer. Like, we didn't expect him to have a big role out of the gate. And if anything, I just think, Alameda Zaccheaus kind of looks good in that offense. I'm not going to lie. So he might be able to stave off Burden for a while, but I would hold on to Burden for a little longer because, if any of the top 3 wide receivers in that offense end up getting hurt, then he becomes the next guy up for sure and becomes a top waiver wire ad for the week. Jadon Blue, I'd probably hold on to for another week. Not much involvement for him. It was kind of all Javonte Williams. Miles Sanders had a little bit of run, but I'd hold on for another week or two and just see what shakes out of that backfield behind Javonte. Cooper, of course, is a drop. Juwan Jennings, you hold on to. Josh Downs, you hold on to. Darnell Mooney, you hold on to. Ramondre, you're definitely holding on to. Jaden Higgins, I know he didn't have a great game. That's a really tough matchup at LA for the passing offense. That entire passing offense just looked like shit, but I expect them to bounce back. Look at the matchups they have ahead. They got Tampa Bay, Jacksonville, and Tennessee. So I think you hold on to everything in that Houston passing offense for now. Jerome Ford, yeah, I plan on dropping him in the leagues that I'm in. Adam Thielen was pretty much a no-show at Chicago, but that passing offense kind of struggled. And again, they do have great matchups, Atlanta and Cincinnati, both at home, and Jordan Addison will miss both of those games. So, yeah, I mean, you're not going to feel comfortable playing Adam Thielen in week 2, but maybe by week 3, yeah, if you need to drop him, you definitely can. Waller's droppable. Trey Harris is droppable. Evan Ingram, I don't know if we have an update on his injury status with the calf injury. At this point, I mean, rest of season, I think I'd probably rather own a lot of the guys on the waiver wire than Evan Ingram, definitely Harold Fannin Jr., Juwan Johnston probably. I think I could make the case for like Zach Ertz and Hunter Henry as well. So if you need the space, again, Evan Ingram's not a guy I'm needing to hold on to. Golden, definitely hold on to. Roman Wilson and Kyle Williams, droppable. Keaton Mitchell, droppable. Bhayshul Tuten, definitely not droppable. Mark Andrews, I have him in your idiot league mates, which is devastating that I'm like, that will eat at me forever that I took him over Tyler Warren. Like, I knew when I was on the clock, I was like, I shouldn't do this, but like, I'm going to do it because I'm a fucking bot. I'm not dropping Mark Andrews yet, but I don't feel good about owning him. I'll put it that way. Najee, don't drop. I think his workload will increase as he gets into better conditioning mode. Kyle Monangai, I'm probably holding on to maybe for another week or two, but don't think I would fault you for dropping him just based on the lack of success by DeAndre Swift last night, although the Minnesota Vikings run defense is really, really good. Cooper Kupp, probably not dropping him yet, but he is on the lookout. Kayshon, I think you can drop. Roschon Johnson, I probably want to hold on to until we see what that backfield split looks like when he is actually playing. Xavier Worthy, of course, don't drop. Put him on your IR. Justice Hill, droppable. Pat Bryant, droppable. Rico Dowdle, droppable. Brian Robinson Jr., definitely hold on to. That workload for C-Mac is insane. Mason Taylor was a guy that I'm telling you that I actually like to pick up. 88% of the snaps as a rookie in week 1 is good. Wilson, droppable. Lockett, droppable. Emmanuel Wilson, yeah, you could drop him unless you just want to hold on to a handcuff for Jacobs. Loveland, yeah, not a very inspiring week 1. They don't have the snap shares up right now, but 2 targets, 2 receptions, 12 yards. It was always Tyler Warren over Colson Loveland. The rest of them, yeah, Bo Nix. I mean, I don't know. You could do whatever you want with the fucking quarterbacks in this situation. Quinshon Judkins, do not drop. And that is the entire trending down list. Again, if you want to get my favorite like defensive or quarterback streamers for the week, that will be in the waiver wire rankings for y'all. I just wanted to get to the meat of the situation here. There was a lot to talk about in week 1, as there always is. So I hope that this video was helpful for you guys to give you a little bit more context. I'm going to be doing this video every single Tuesday morning for you. I did a full game-by-game recap live stream yesterday. So if you want to catch that on the channel, go do that. You might not see it under like the main public page because you got to click live because I go live every Monday. So if you want to know when I go live, just turn the notification button on for that. Tomorrow, we will have my running back rankings out there for you, wide receiver rankings on Thursday. The rankings on the website will be there for you sit-start decisions. All right. BDGE.co, Big Dog member. I love you. I'm out. Smoochies.